So welcome everybody to this latest A2 video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over series and sequences with a focus on iterative processes and finding the limits of converging sequences. Now, if an iteration converges as n increases, it tends towards a particular value that is sometimes known as its limit. Now, if an iteration converges, to find its limit, simply replace all the iteration parts of the un or the un plus 1 and or the un minus 1 with the letter L, and then solve it for the letter L. Now, the reason why this works is because if it does converge, then there's going to be very little difference between the un plus 1 or the un minus 1, so therefore it will represent the same number, practically the same number. And obviously, because we're trying to find its limit, and that's what that value would be, we can just replace it with the letter L and then solve it for L. Now, for this to make more sense, let's have a look at working through some examples. So looking at this very first one, so let's just get a different color pen. So for the first one, I want to find the limit of this converging sequence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the un or the iterative parts with the letter L. So what that becomes is L, and it's going to be a half L plus 4. Now what I now want to do is make L the subject. So first things first, I'm going to take this L to the side by subtracting a half L, which then leaves me with a half L equals 4. Then from this I can take the half over to the other side by multiplying, so L is going to equal, and then a 4 divided by a half is going to equal 8. So the limit, this particular iterative sequence in number 1, is going to converge to the limit of 8. Then if I look at question 2, so again all I'm going to do is replace the iterative values with the letter of L, and here we go, and then I'll take that to the other side, in which I end up with 4 over 3 L equals 5, and then L equals 5 divided by 4/3, which, if I, just to play it safe, type that into my calculator, it should give me 15 over 4, but let's just double check. So I've got 5 divided by 4 divided by 3, which indeed leaves me with L equals 15 over 4, which as a decimal is 3.75. So that's what this iterative sequence will converge to. And then let's have a look at question 3. So again, all I'm going to do is replace the iterative parts with the letter L. I've got L plus 2 over 4. Take the 4 over, so I've got 4L equals L plus 2. 3L equals 2, so then L equals 2/3. So that's what the sequence is going to converge to. And then finally, for question, and let's go for red, for question 4, again replacing all the iterative values with L, and then obviously we can then multiply everything by L. So here we end up with L squared equals L plus 6, and then I end up with L squared minus L minus 6 equals 0. This then becomes a quadratic, which I can then go on to solve, in which I've got L, end up with 3 and 2 with a minus and a plus equals 0. So L is going to equal, either converge to 3 or it could converge to minus 2, depending on what the starting value actually is going to be.